Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity. I just have a couple announcements before we get started today. I hope you already know, but we have Marianne Williamson coming to Unity on Friday, February 21st at 7:30, and the tickets are $30, and you can pick those up in the lobby after the service today. We also have an amazing workshop coming up. It's called The 90%, A Path to Living in True Abundance. It's 7 weeks. It meets Saturday mornings from 9 to 11, starting February 1st. So you can register for that. It's a $10 registration, and it's taught by Shad, and it's a tithing class as well. And in your handout, it has everything else that's going on here. There's lots and lots of stuff. You could pretty much find something every day that's happening to connect you to Spirit and cultivate that beautiful relationship. But today we're just going to start by chanting and coming into the presence of this room and connect with that greater potential, that greater love, and just give ourselves this hour to deeply contemplate our heart presence and get out of the intellect, trying to figure out all of the obligations of our lives, and remember the rhythm of the heartbeat, spirit, and love. So Norma and I will be the call and response, and Larry and Louie will be the response. We're the call, they're the response.
First force of all creation, to you I bow, divine force everywhere, to you I bow, creative force, primal force, to you I bow, rising to ascended one, to you I bow, first force of all creation, to you I bow, divine force everywhere, to you I bow, creative force, primal force, to you I bow, rising to ascended one, to you I bow, first force of all creation, to you I bow, divine force everywhere, to you I bow, creative force, primal force, to you I bow, rising to ascended one, to you I bow, Namo Namo, Namo Namo, Namo Namo, Namo Namo, Namo Namo, Namo Namo, Namo. First force of all creation, to you I bow.
Here, I'll leave it. Here we go.
Divine force everywhere, to you I bow. Creative force, primal force, to you I bow. Rising to ascended one, to you I bow. First force of all creation, to you I bow. Divine force everywhere. To you I bow. Creative force, primal force. To you I bow. Rising to ascended ones. To you I bow. First force of all creation. To you I bow. Divine force everywhere. To you I bow. Creative force, primal force. To you I bow. Rising to ascended ones. To you I bow. Namo Namo. 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 Adi Shakti, Adi Shakti, Adi Shakti, Namo Namo. Sarab Shakti, Sarab Shakti, Sarab Shakti, Namo Namo. Pridamba Agati, Pridamba Agati, Pridamba Agati, Namo Namo. Kundalini, Mati Shakti, Mati Shakti, Namo Namo. Adi Shakti, Adi Shakti, Adi Shakti, Namo Namo. Sarab Shakti, Sarab Shakti, Sarab Shakti, Namo Namo. Pridamba Agati, Pridamba Agati, Pridamba Agati, Namo Namo. Kundalini, Mati Shakti, Mati Shakti, Namo Namo. Adi Shakti, Adi Shakti, Adi Shakti, Namo Namo. Sarab Shakti, Sarab Shakti, Sarab Shakti, Namo Namo. Pridamba Agati, Pridamba Agati, Pridamba Agati, Namo Namo. Kundalini, Mati Shakti, Mati Shakti, Namo Namo. 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 Namo. First source of all creation. To you I bow. Divine force everywhere. To you I bow. Creative force, primal force. To you I bow. Rising to ascended ones. To you I bow. First force of all creation. To you I bow. divine force everywhere. To you I bow, creative force, primal force. To you I bow, rising to ascended ones. To you I bow, first force of all creation. To you I bow, divine force everywhere. To you I bow, creative force, primal force. To you I bow, rising to ascended ones. To you I bow, Namo Namo, 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 Namo.
Again, we will need a couple of volunteers to clear this altar after the service in preparation for the next service. That would be very appreciated. Not too long ago, at the 11 o'clock service, Santisha asked the people in the congregation how many of them still have someone they can't forgive. And I was watching it from the back, and I thought, well, this is unity. We'll watch a couple of 3 hands go up, possibly. But about half the congregation raised their hand. This was so mind-blowing to me, because among them were some people that have been with unity for quite a while. Asking that question, how many of you have someone you can't forgive, is like asking how many of you are still walking around with that rock in your shoe that you know prevents you every day from having peace of mind. This was so off the charts for me. I assumed if you've been in unity a while, you know that we are living in a universal law of sowing and reaping. You know that. if you're still trying to skirt that, if you still think that holding a grievance against another really has no negative effect on you, you are in denial of the reality that we are attempting to bring people's awareness to. Life is not just chaos, happenstance. There is a divine law that we exist and operate in, and it cannot be broken. So if you still think that holding a grievance against someone else doesn't have a negative effect on you, you need to return to the Methodist Church. We are reaping what we sow. Edgar Casey, put it very simply, was asked this question. Can we have this first PowerPoint, please? The sleeping prophet, Edgar Casey in a trance, was asked, "How can I obtain relief from resentment and bitterness?" This was his answer: "As you forgive, you are forgiven. As you love, so are you loved. As you resent, so are you resented." This is an unequivocal statement of the truth that we actually exist in. And if you suppose that you can live outside that truth, you might as well try living outside of the truth of gravity. We live in gravity too. And that is a law. You know, you actually may attribute your lack of inspiration, motivation, or the low energy that you have, you may attribute it to other things. You see, but the truth of it is, any grievance being held cuts you off from the enlivening energy of life, sometimes referred to as the life force. It cuts you off. And you may be so used to living in that limited awareness and limited feeling that you say, well, this is the way it is, or I'm getting older, or maybe I need to change my diet. Let me say to you, this is a very real thing. You know, the days are coming when science will be able to measure this very refined energy that flows between us. You know, sometimes they call it the Holy Spirit. But this very refined energy that flows between us is the divine consciousness we refer to as God. God cannot be fragmented without there being a response in the mind and body. You cannot fragment the one consciousness, which is God, and not get a response in a negative feeling in mind and body. A Course in Miracles is very clear about this. Can we take a look at this on the PowerPoint, please? You can read this in the old text 220 or the new text 236. If you did not feel guilty, you could not attack, for condemnation is the root of attack. It is the judgment of one mind by another as unworthy of love and deserving of punishment. But herein lies the split, for the mind that judges perceives itself as separate from the mind being judged, believing that punishing another, it will escape punishment. All this is but the delusional attempt of the mind to deny itself and escape the penalty of denial. It is not an attempt to relinquish denial, but to hold on to it. For it is guilt that has obscured the Father to you, and it is guilt that has driven you insane. Hold it right there. You can tell from writing like this that whoever put it down was not interested in cajoling you. The person that was channeling this truth from the divine consciousness is saying it just the way it is. Now, you may think that claiming that guilt has driven you insane is in itself a strong condemnation coming from the Course in Miracles. But how else would you describe someone who continues to choose hot resentment to pleasant peace of mind and joy of living? Someone who chooses negative emotions, negative feelings, to freedom of joy and peace. You can only say that is a choice for insanity, because there is deep within us, in the ego-centered consciousness, the idea that somehow or other revenge is possible. And it even is thought by some people that by holding these negative emotions of someone, you're actually getting to them. You're not being fazed at all by what you're holding within yourself. So it's time to awaken to this fact, if you happen to be those people. I can't believe that many of you here, being at the 9 o'clock service, shows a little more dedication than the 11 o'clock sluffers. So I can't believe that many of you really have someone you haven't been able to forgive. Because this is the truth that will make you free, and I think you've heard enough of it to be practicing it in a realistic fashion. Let me take this back again from the beginning. This is the gospel of A Course in Miracles. If you did not feel guilty, you could not attack. For condemnation is the root of attack. It is the judgment of one mind by another as unworthy of love and deserving of punishment. But herein lies the split. For the mind that judges perceives itself as separate from the mind being judged, believing that by punishing another, it will escape punishment. All this is but the delusional attempt of the mind to deny itself and escape the penalty of denial. It is not an attempt to relinquish denial, but to hold on to it. For it is guilt that has obscured the Father to you, and it is guilt that has driven you insane. Over the many years that I've been in the ministry, I have had countless wonderful, rewarding personal experiences. Many, many, many of them. I have hundreds of letters. I used to collect them, but now I have no room to collect them in cases, because I thought at some time maybe I would, plaster them to my bedroom wall. But I've given up saving all the letters and all the comments that people have made about how this ministry has been instrumental in bringing them healing of mind and body. But one of those very rewarding experiences came in the church on Spruce Street. It was a Sunday. I just finished giving the 2 services on Sunday. I was back in my office, and a woman came in staggering. She had to lean against the wall to kind of steady herself. And she said, "You saved my life today. What you said has saved my life. I just walked out of my wheelchair because what you said about holding a grievance against someone, a grudge, was like holding a red-hot, double-edged sword that had no handle. And that the only thing you can do is let it go." And then you did this meditation on forgiveness, and I just cried and cried and cried. Because I was holding a grievance against my ex-husband who left me 3 years ago. And I have just hated him ever since. Every time I think of him, I would think of him with hate. But this morning, when you had me bring him to mind, I was able to release him and release myself. I felt this energy come into my body that I hadn't had there before. And I knew I could stand up. And I knew I could walk. And from there on, she was walking. She attended the church for a couple of years since she actually moved to California with a new fellow that became her husband. But that was a very rewarding experience. But how clearly it demonstrates the power of the mind to shut off the energy of life. That's what so many people do in the outer-directed, illusion-driven world, because they hold the delusion of separation so powerfully. They hold this thought, there is me and all others who are not me. Nothing could be more untrue than that statement. There is me and all others who are not me. Granted, we are raised from infancy, we are educated from infancy to believe in the illusion that I'm a separate body mind in a world of other separate body minds. And my thoughts don't necessarily have any effect on myself when I'm holding negative feelings and thoughts about others. Nothing could be more incorrect than that. Have you ever heard the unity statement, there is one mind, one presence, one power in all the universe of which we are all a part? Now, this is not theology. This is not religious rhetoric that's going to try to create some type of fear and allegiance to a church. This is the truth, taught by not just the master of life, but every single master down through the ages acknowledges this truth of our interconnectedness on this level of refined spirit and awareness. So we either going to grow up and out of that, or we will die never ever having experienced what it means to be truly alive. To be truly alive in energy, to get up in the morning and know you're part of the creation ongoing, without fear or concern or consternation or low energy or disgust, but to live. There's no separate heaven that you go to for being stupid. If you spend your whole life being stupid and you get to heaven, the only thing they can do there for you is either give you an awareness transplant from some minister like Jack Groveland, or they will send you away. You have to go back. You have to get it. You didn't get it yet. You're still walking around with that rock in your shoe. Only you can take it out. It's up to you. So, Wayne Dyer will put it this way. Can we have the next PowerPoint? Forgiveness is the most powerful thing you can do for yourself on the spiritual path. If you can't learn to forgive, you can forget about getting to higher levels of awareness. Forgiveness is the most powerful thing you can do for yourself on the spiritual path. If you can't learn to forgive, you can forget about getting to higher levels of awareness. That's it, to the point. So, it's not that difficult to release this block that you hold in mind. And so you think that I'll forgive, but it'll be a long time before this other person will ever, come around. Because you think that forgiveness is a supreme act of charity. Because you believe in your separation so completely. You believe that if you were to forgive someone that you hold a grievance against, it would be a supreme act of charity, instead of a release of an illusion that has held you away from enlightened living. It is an illusion that has held you away from enlightened living. when you surrender it and you allow this feeling of brotherly, sisterly camaraderie to rise within you, and you look past the seeming foibles and errors and confrontations that may have occurred. You look beyond them, and what you're going to do is you're going to start to feel good, because you're going to start to feel God again. And as you start to feel God again, you're going to begin to notice that this person or people will begin to change toward you. And when you do that enough, when you recognize that enough, you will become enlightened. You will not hold grievances, because you'll know that they just create internal pain where there doesn't need to be any pain. So let me share this with you, because it's going to finally capitalize this truth about the Father. And the Course in Miracles speaks about the Father. If you're still thinking of the Father being somewhere off, somewhere in a distant heaven, this may help you, because the Father is consciousness. It is the consciousness ongoing in life itself. So can we have this next PowerPoint, please? You can read this in the old text, page 492, in the new 529. The grace of God rests gently on forgiving eyes, and everything they look on speaks of him to the beholder. He can see no evil, nothing in the world to fear, and no one who is different from himself. And as he loves them, so he looks upon himself with love and gentleness. He would no more condemn himself for his mistakes than damn another. He is not an arbiter of vengeance, not a punisher of sin. The kindness of his sight rests on himself with all the tenderness it offers others. For he would only heal and only bless. And being in accord with what God wills, he has the power to heal and bless all those he looks on with the grace of God upon his sight. This is it. This is the step you can take. You can take this step, because it is the step from the illusion-driven thinking of the world into the consciousness of the masters of life. Let's take this back again. I will go through it again. The grace of God rests gently on forgiving eyes, and everything they look on speaks of him to the beholder. He can see no evil, nothing in the world to fear, and no one who is different from himself. And as he loves them, so he looks upon himself with love and gentleness. He would no more condemn himself for his mistakes than damn another. He is not an arbiter of vengeance, nor a punisher of sin. The kindness of his sight rests on himself with all the tenderness it offers others. For he would only heal and only bless. And being in accord with what God wills, he has the power to heal and bless all those he looks on with the grace of God upon his sight. There is only one divine consciousness of which we are all a part. We can either enter into and share the consciousness of mastery, or we can continue to limp along and struggle along in the illusionary thinking of the world. When the Master of Life said, "Follow me," he was saying to you, "I have overcome the world. Follow me in this overcoming." Look upon everything you see as part of God, because in truth, it is only God. We'll take a few moments here to do our meditation together. We have our beautiful Tibetan bowls that will help us raise our divine energy levels through the chakras that give expression to the mind and body. And as we do this, if you don't have a particular meditation technique that you use that brings you into the silence and the stillness and the peace of the presence, use this mantra: God is love. Love is life. I am God's life. I am. I am. Breathe in the I, breathe out the am. Stay with it. God is love. Love is life now, here, where I am. I am God's life. I am. Breathe in the I, breathe out the am. I am. as we go forth from this meditation to this beautiful present moment and to this beautiful day. Let us go forth with a greater determination to do the spiritual practice that opens and frees us from limited thinking of the world. And for this opportunity in every moment, let us feel gratitude, and let that be a growing gratitude as we look upon the miracle of being alive. Let us not go forth taking things for granted. Everything is magnificent. The miracle of being alive. And to this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. As we're preparing to do this, I'd like to remind you that we have a beautiful 11 o'clock service, and Tisha will be conducting that service, and she will be speaking about the insights of the mind regarding how to avoid anxiety and how to avoid limited feelings. And we also have our ongoing Saturday evening service with Shad and Erin of Groveland at 5 o'clock every Saturday. So you can check that out, and you may find a lot of inspiration doing that. As we take our offerings in our hands, let's bless them with this offering statement. Divine love is my true life and my conscious destiny. Therefore, I give. Together, please. Divine love is my true life and my conscious destiny. Therefore, I give.
There is so much love around us. If we just open up our heart, it's waiting to come in, waiting to come in. There is so much love around us. If we just open up our hearts.